Oh, the shark has pretty teeth, dear.
Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Closing Beat. How you doing today? Hope you're having a good day out there. Welcome, welcome. This is the Closing Beat. It's a quick financial stock market update show that we do for customers here at Jazz, as well as you guys that like to come join us on a daily basis. Hope you had a good week here so far and didn't fall asleep. The stock market finishes up the week higher but lower for the week, right? So today we were up, but on the week we were lower. That's all good. We're financial advisors here at Jazz Wealth, and appreciate all of you guys giving us a shot, thinking of us there. If you're working with a financial advisor that just, you don't get to see him, he doesn't help and reach out and everything, I hope you'll keep us in mind. We'll even break up with them for you. We'll help you transfer your account. We'll do the work for you and handle all the tears and the, oh no, don't leave sort of thing. We have zero shame. We will call them and make that happen for you. All right. We're also playing a game. It's called Guess the Dow. Every Friday we announce our winner for Guess the Dow. Today's winner happens to be a client of ours. She's already been notified, Miss Catherine Land. She's the winner. She guessed 27886.11. She was the closest without going over. Not the closest ever, but still a winner. And so we'll credit her account $100. We've already alerted her to that and got that process started. If you want to play along, bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you can go to jazzwealth.com/guess the Dow. You can take a guess where you think the Dow will close next week. If you're the closest without going over, we'll send you the $100 gift card if you're not one of our customers. Or if you happen to be one of our customers like Catherine Land, we will credit your account $100. Even if you've already gone over the max for the year, we can officially do that. So there you go. Congratulations, Catherine, and hope the rest of you will play again next week. Let's see what we can do. The stock market today, we got 108 points on the Dow. We got 6 on the S&P and 13 on the NASDAQ. If you've been following along this week, you go, well, that's pretty boring. Boring finish to a boring week. We've been hovering around here at these highs. We were technically lower on the week by like 1/3%, so not really that big of a deal. This is the S&P 500, still flirting with making new highs there. All in all, comments were pretty good trade-wise. Well, I think people looked at it as saying, well, at least they're not getting worse, right? They're not necessarily, there's no finish line in place, right? The phase 1 of the trade deal could still be signed this year, but it's looking like next year. President Xi said that he wants an equal trade deal. He's still willing to do it. He said, but if you read through that, what he actually said, he said he still wants a fair trade deal that's equal for both parties. However, he's not willing, or he's not opposed to pushing back, being a little bit more aggressive if need be. So the stock market was like, all right, that's pretty good. Trump came out and said, we're close to a deal. We're going to make a deal. It's all good. We want to make a deal. Everybody wants to make a deal. It's yada, yada. It's the same stuff we've been hearing again. Nonetheless, still up on the day, down on the week. No Fed members out speaking today, so it was kind of quiet in that respect. You had some econ news come out. It was sort of quiet as well. The bulk of the story today was just that, hey, trade negotiations aren't getting worse, so that's a good sign. And so because of that, you had the S&P a little bit higher. If we look at the NASDAQ, a little bit higher there as well. Same comments, higher on the day, but down a little bit on the week. And the Dow would be in the exact same position, higher on the day, down on the week, still above what's known as a little bit of a floor here to the downside, flirting around there. But very quiet, low volatility, low volume. That's expected to go into next week. Next week is, of course, Thanksgiving on Thursday, and it'll be a half a day on Friday for the stock market. We will not be doing the closing beat on Thursday because the market's not open, and we won't do it on Friday either because it's Black Friday. Y'all are probably going shopping, wasting your dough and everything, so go have a good time doing that. So we'll do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, although it's expected to be rather quiet. We are officially still within a bunch of days here not trading plus or minus 1%. So really tight, small days. You got 31 days now officially where the market has done that. We covered some of the volatility expectations going forward in our class for customers last Thursday, last night in our class for customers. Did you know we do a class every single week? And so last night we covered the deadlines for different transactions you may be wanting to do, conversions, deposits, rollovers, reverse rollovers, things like that, and what to expect. If you look at the S&P for the year so far, up 24.1%. If we look at the NASDAQ, up 28.4%, still the outperformer in general. Tech also the outperformer there. If we look at the Dow on the year-to-date performance there, 19.5%, and the Russell 2000, although not looking good there, some of the earnings adjustments being made under the surface, if you happen to follow the Russell 2000, up still 17.8% year-to-date. So looking good there. Let's take a look at the different sectors out there. Oil hold up pretty good. I thought it held up pretty good. Above the 200-day moving average today. Pretty quiet day. It did pull back 1.1%, but not really that big of a deal. Yesterday we got the news from Reuters that OPEC was going to continue to cut production or continue with their production cuts into the summer of next year. That helped boost what was looking to be a pretty scary looking chart there for oil. And so not bad there. You got retail bouncing off the 200-day moving average. Everybody's sort of liking that here in the short term. A little bit of a floor. That red line that you're looking at on the charts there is the 200-day moving average. So all's looking good there for retail despite a lot of earnings back and forth this week. We'll cover that in a second. Financials holding up here. You would call this relative strength, by the way. Sitting up at highs. You look at the stock market, and the stock market pulled back a little, but financials are just staying right there at those highs, basing sideways. So a lot of people like that, financials being an undervalued area of the market and continuing to get a bid there, so looking good. Also in the relative strength category would be healthcare. Healthcare continuing to do really well. Healthcare up at highs as well, making new highs today. Good relative strength there. Markets pulling back a little. Healthcare not pulling back a little. Johnson & Johnson and a few others in the news today helping that one out if you're following along. Silver and gold starting to roll over a little bit, down about 0.5% today for the price of silver. If you look at gold, whether you use an ETF or the direct futures there, just a little bit of a rollover here. Right? This week, people kind of assuming, oh, maybe I don't have to have that kind of protection. Gold's in a downtrend, makes it difficult to try to pick that bottom there. And so that's what you have with the price of gold. Okay, for the week, you've got materials. The biggest, materials and officially consumer discretionary, the biggest downside movers. So the biggest range week over week goes to those categories. To the downside, that'd be consumer discretionary and, of course, materials. The biggest upside mover is going to be healthcare. Healthcare obviously doing really well. We just mentioned that a second ago. That's your biggest mover to the upside. Year to date, you got the tech sector is the best performing area of the market. Year to date, the tech sector is up 39%. That's by far the best performing sector of the S&P 500. If you break them down into individual sectors there, on the bottom side of that, you have energy. Energy is the worst performer. It's still up 3% year to date. However, you wouldn't be very happy with that if you had invested everything you have in the energy sector, which leads to more calls for diversification. Sectors that are currently beating the S&P 500. So if you had to break it down, wondering what's the better performers in your portfolio, financials are going to be the closest, meaning they're beating it by a little bit. 12.6% on the financials for the year. Industrials will be the next best performer. 26%. You could use the XLI if you want something to look at there. Communication services come in second place with performance of 27% so far year to date. And as I mentioned a minute ago, the tech sector, 39% beating out the S&P. The S&P is up 24.1% year to date. All right, let's take a look at some individual stocks here. You got Foot Locker down on the day, although well off of its lows. A little bit of a waterfall drop there. The gap down today attracted the day traders. That sell-off early in the morning certainly attracted the day traders. They beat on earnings. Revenues were basically as expected. However, for the holiday season, they were like, oh, buddy, holiday season not looking too good for Foot Locker, and because of that, that's why you saw the gap lower on the day. Pretty much an underperforming area of the retail sector so far, if you happen to be looking at that. One as well, but they did better today in the retail sector was Nordstrom. Really cool chart here for Nordstrom. It started to sort of sell off. People were believing that it was going to break down, it was going to be weak, and then they had a really well-timed earnings report to come in better than expected. So Nordstrom beat on earnings by 17 cents, actually. Revenues came in as expected. They guided in line. Gross margins were up by 1%. They're doing better at controlling costs, controlling inventory. We made some jokes earlier in the year about what they did with their inventory, but Nordstrom up 10.5%, back to these prior highs. Notice where it stopped there. People say, okay, going into the weekend, We got a good earnings report. Everything's looking good. I'm not so sure I want to be the one to bet on all, new highs here, at least in the short term. And so the stock basically stopped there, but still a very respectable day of 10.5%. Zoom Video, recent IPO here, was higher today. It was upgraded by Guggenheim, and they basically took a look at the people that use the free service and how quickly they become a paid member. And so from their analysis there, they upgraded the stock. They got a $90 price target, which is way up here. That'd be 28% higher. Basically, Guggenheim said there is their quote was, a rapid adoption of paying users, which is basically a fancy way of saying the people that use it for free very rapidly decide to become paid members, and that's good for Zoom in general. Not a bad little company there as far as how they've, they're profitable, right? So kind of compared to the other IPOs that have just come out. So you got the Gap higher today, 4.4%, a much needed Gap higher here for the Gap. They beat on earnings there. Revenues basically as expected. Before earnings, they came out and said, boy, we don't think this is going to be very good. They were very negative on their earnings report there. They were expecting really, really poor results overall. They had a lot of things going on. The trouble with this stock is there's so much going on here. It leads investors to say, well, I'll just go with something else, right? It's just easier to look elsewhere because Gap's getting a new CEO. Remember, I think last week they announced the Gap CEO was going to be stepping down. They're looking into spinning off Old Navy, making that its own public company as well. Their comments in their earnings report, can I pull their earnings report up? Comments from the CEO on the Old Navy spinoff. What did he say? Oh, there you go. So, okay, nothing really new there. Say they're making progress on the Old Navy spinoff. But again, the issue here with the Gap and why it's not really doing a whole lot is the unknown. Think about everywhere else in the market that you could go invest right now and then look at Gap. And you go, okay, even if I had to be in the retail space, if I had to choose a company, would I choose a company that's firing on all cylinders or at least starting to show that? Good holiday shopping expectations, Target doing well, Walmart doing well, or would I go with the Gap? The Gap's lost their CEO. We don't know what's going to happen there. We don't know what's going to happen with the spinoff of Old Navy. Are they going to get that done next year? What's going to happen? And so because of that, you have people saying, I'm just not going to play, right? I'm just going to go do something else. If you own it, you hold it. But if you're looking for a new position, out of everything out there, this is probably not where you're looking. So although it was higher today, not a whole lot going on there. Intuit held back some of the tech space today, down 4% on the day. Beat on earnings by 16 cents. They guided as expected, except for their forward earnings. They brought it down to $1 a share versus $1.03 a share. So that would be below the lower end of expectations there, down 4% on the day, back to the 200-day moving average. Yum Brands, by the way. Yum Brands hovering at lows. They're going to do a $2 billion buyback. Haven't seen anything like that in a while. So $2 billion buyback for Yum, still a little bit lower on the day. 64.7% of the S&P 500 is above the 50-day moving average. That's on the low end for the week. So the whole concept that we've been talking about all week, a little bit of deterioration under the surface, that continues. We didn't really get any decent spike today, so still hovering near the low end of the range. You had 16 new 52-week highs. That's also near the low end of the range for the week. A couple names that we want to point out in the healthcare space. You got WellCare Health hitting new highs as well, a little extended in the short term, but still performing really well. And then Amgen breaking a new highs and closing at new highs as well. So very strong there on Amgen, which is helping support in general the healthcare space. General Electric poked up there, by the way. It's been quiet this week, but poked up to new highs today, new 52-week highs. Didn't finish up there, but still pretty positive day as they're turning the corner little by little. And then in the hotel space, Hilton Worldwide, that was the strongest one out of the group, out of the new highs today. 2.16%. Hit new highs, closed near new highs. Very strong momentum building into the weekend. So you like to see that if you happen to be an owner of Hilton Worldwide. To the downside, you only had 3 new lows today. There were some of the normal names. You got Cabot Oil, although a little bit of bottom picking there. People trying to guess that bottom after being extended in the short term, maybe thinking it went a little too far too fast. And then you had one of the REITs, Simon Property Group's early morning sell-off there to push it to new 52-week lows and trigger the radar. And then same thing, just a little bit of buying there in the short term. If you look at REITs as a sector, I'll use the ICF today. Let's use a couple. So you got the ICF lower on the day, very volatile day. XLRE still lower on the day, down about 0.5%. It just depends on what you want to look at there. So that's what you have in terms of that. You've got next week, some of the earnings coming out Monday afternoon are going to be Palo Alto Networks and PVH, which is Ralph Lauren. So some more, another retailer coming out. I think a couple others should be on that list as well. Seems like we're missing one or two. Dividends coming out. You got Johnson & Johnson paying out 95 cents and Fleur paying out 17 cents. We happen to own them in our funds here at Jazz, so more dividends coming out. Looking good there. And we'll wrap up the Friday edition of the Closing Beat with this Tesla truck. Did you see the Tesla truck? So Tesla shares lower by 6% today, a bit of a sell on the news kind of a event there. But did you see this thing? What do you think about this truck? Here's a picture of it. That is the truck that they announced yesterday, the much anticipated electric truck. Bit of a tank looking kind of thing. Looks like that fighter plane. But mixed reviews. You had people that thought, okay, this is very forward thinking. They loved it. It was really cool. You had a lot of people sort of saying, okay, it's the next DeLorean. It'll be really interesting. It'll be in a movie and then it'll be a collector, but they're not going to sell a lot of them and everything. I just thought they were coming out with a different truck. I saw pictures of like a more realistic kind of a truck. Nonetheless, there's the truck. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also heard that you can see the video online. They threw like a silver sort of thing at the window. It's supposed to be shatterproof windows, and the window shattered. So there's a lot of thoughts out there. People were saying, okay, that was staged. Some people thought, okay, that was a big mistake. That doesn't make them look very good. What do you think? I'm on the fence. I don't know. I like the idea of thinking differently there. I don't know. It doesn't jump out to me as something I want to go buy, but there you have it. Yeah. I sort of buy the whole idea that this thing was staged to have that window break, because I have friends that are engineers. I have a friend that's a rocket scientist. He's not actually allowed to tell me what he does for a living, what he's working on. But I know they test things billions of times before they even bother to show it to somebody. I have a hard time believing that their engineers didn't test that beforehand with the very ball that they threw at the window. So I don't know. That's a little bit tough one there. What man won't want a Cybertruck? Yeah, I like it. So you like the Cybertruck there. I thought the wheels were pretty cool. Yeah, it was just kind of kind of weird, man. Honestly, I would have painted it a different color to show it, because making it silver like that, I think, made me think of the DeLorean like right away. Does anybody know what the DeLorean is? Don't like it? Yeah, you do. I love Elon Musk, right? So the fact that they took some different inspirations than normal car manufacturers, car designers, I thought was cool. I just don't know that that's a mass production type thing. I just can't imagine them selling a lot of those. I don't know. That's a good thought. Maybe they are sort of secretly working with a movie, and it'll show up in a movie before production. Also, they're supposed to be producing these things next year. A lot of questions about will that actually happen. You know, their track record on meeting deadlines for things like that. So, yeah, mixed reviews it looks like from you guys as well. I think that's kind of the general reception for the day there. We'll see. More to come. Lulu hitting new highs there. The question is, do you think it'll push over 230 after earnings? It certainly has the normal trading range to be able to do that. It's very close. $10 is not a lot to ask for Lululemon. We'll see. Earnings next week, right? Oh, you think they did it so many times they weakened the windows? Well, we'll see. Lakeisha preferred to see that concept truck that was out before. Now, that looked like a cool truck. That's what I thought we were going to see. Something along those lines. I thought that was a very nice looking truck. I mean, that made perfect sense to me. Maybe there's some kind of joke I don't know about. I don't know. You thought the Ray Dalio option puts on the S&P expire March? I think it's April. I think he picked April. He also he claims to have been the guy that did that volatility trade as well. Yeah. The thoughts on utilities. So we talked about utilities yesterday, how it really wasn't responding to lower rates, and then when rates spiked a little bit, it didn't respond to, or it started responding to the downside there. So maybe a little bit of relative weakness there. Early to tell because it's such a low volatility type environment. You're not really able to pick on things too easily and see what stands out versus what doesn't. Healthcare, sort of an exception there, but it makes it very difficult to look at the sectors of the market and go, that's a clear winner, that's a clear loser. Utilities and REITs seem to be trying to hint at a bit of a top there. I think that makes it kind of tough, in my opinion. Yeah, cool. You had some Buckle there. Buckle did well, 20% higher on the day, reported earnings. Yeah, nice little performance on Buckle for the day. Good job. I like it. You're trading in the Tacoma for the Cybertruck. Not just yet. You could probably wait till the end of next year, but I like it. Yeah, a lot of excitement around the Disney Frozen 2 coming out this weekend. They have high expectations for that. We'll see. Up about 1% on the day, maybe because of that. Disney's still working off that post Disney Plus and earnings kind of pop that it had there. So we'll see. Yep. You're thinking of selling out of stocks and prepping for buying real estate during an economic downturn. It's an idea. I can't tell you whether it's good for you or not, but that's something. I have customers that have been waiting for the market to fall now for years, and so they've been sitting there with cash like, darn it, I missed out on all this, so there's got to be a bit of give and take there. Yep. The pot stocks did pull back today. Didn't mention it earlier. They just pulled back. It was a great run. Like things like Canopy Growth, they had a great run this week. Very normal to see some short-term profit taking going in to the end of the weekend after such a run. I mean, just think about it. Like if you happen to get somewhere near the bottom, let's say you bought it on the first day that it spiked there. You got 30% in 3 days. That's very normal that people would say, okay, that's a quick profit. I'll take it. I'll walk away and see how this thing handles itself. Even if you have to buy a little bit higher from there, locking in a 30% gain, that's pretty impressive for the pot stocks. But they did pull back today just after a really strong week. I don't think there was anything really crazy to worry about there. Yep. I think you're right. I think it was Ray Dalio on the S&P, but I think he was also the guy that added those volatility puts as well. I can't. I don't hold me to that, I guess, but I'm pretty sure he was the guy that said he did that. Yep. There you go. Sweet. Well, I hope you guys have a good weekend there. Remember, next week will likely be pretty quiet, so we'll maybe take some more questions. We'll cover the markets as good as we can, maybe do some more sort of top-down type analysis for you guys that are really into it. We'll be back Monday to do this all over again. I appreciate all your help and support, hitting the subscribe button and all that great stuff. So thank you so much for doing that. Enjoy your weekend. I hope it's cool wherever you're at, and we'll see you next Monday.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new FinTips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.